You're listening to the Spotless Podcast, where cleanliness is always next to podliness. Now, here are your hosts, Hannah Brooks Olson and Andrew Walsh.
As someone famously says in the TV show Seinfeld, it was a 1 in a million shot, Doc. A 1 in a million shot. Who says that? Is that George's dad? I get them all confused.
Yeah, it sounds like something. Frank? Is his name Frank?
I think his name is Frank. I think some uncooked pasta accidentally went right up his posterior.
Yes, right. Because of the
Yes.
the pasta creations that Kramer makes. Mm-hmm.
And it was fusilli, and so he had to see a proctologist. And the line, it was a 1 in a million shot. That line was going through my head a couple of weeks, actually, maybe that's closer to a month ago, because I was getting ready to leave my house. I was kind of getting a bunch of stuff in order for my volunteer gig, kind of rushing around, and then I reached into my closet. We have a little closet where we keep our coats and some sundry items, and I don't know what I was reaching for, but I just reached into sort of our front closet, and somehow, and I still don't know how, my fingernail just sort of slid down a piece of somewhat roughened wood that was in the back of the closet. It must have been like the door frame or something like
Oh,
that.
because there's like unfinished wood or whatever.
There must have been something, or just old wood that's kind of was finished and is becoming less finished with time. I don't know how wood works. But all I know is I'm suddenly yelping in pain because a big splinter just went right up my fingernail.
Oh my god.
Right up the fingernail. I talked about this a lot on my other podcast, TBTL, because I think I went on the air the next day, and I'm like, I don't know what to do about this. In the moment, I'm saying to Genevieve, this hurts really bad. The pain is starting to subside a little bit. She's like, well, let's get it out of there. I'm like, I can't. I'm running to my volunteer thing now, and it'll probably just grow out. And she says, what do you mean it'll grow out? I'm like, I don't know. It'll grow out. My body will reject this thing over time. And she says, I don't think that's how bodies work. And so I looked it up later that day, and it was still painful at this point. But then I looked it up, and I started to read all these things online that said, no, your body will not just push it out. Like, if you get a fingernail under your nail, that's not how
No, because the fingernail grows out. It's not going to take the splinter with it. The splinter's probably
I thought it might go for a ride.
No, because there's like a couple of layers of nail, and like there's your actual fingernail, and then there's like the nail bed, and so it's probably, I think it's in the skin part. If you can feel it, it's in the skin part, right? That's the thing.
Well, this is how it all played out. So I went digging. I'm a real wimp when it comes to this stuff. Genevieve wanted to like kind of get it out for me. I'm like, that's not going to happen.
Why would you not just let her? I feel like I would trust her.
I know, no, Genevieve would definitely be good. I'm just too much of a wimp. I think I'd flinch too much. I just don't think it would work very well. So I decided I was going. I arranged several instruments for myself, some tweezers, but the tweezers are just too thick. This thing was way deep and kind of in the corner of my nail. So I get tweezers. I get some like a needle. Some special sewing tweezers that Genevieve gave me. I took a really, really long shower, which I'm probably going to do anyway. Really softened things up a bit and really went digging. Couldn't make it happen. Couldn't get it out of there. Then the next Monday I wake up and it's starting to swell, right? It's starting to get that, it's getting infected or whatever. You can kind of pull the skin back and it kind of
it's like an ingrown. Yeah,
exactly.
Also, I guess trigger warning for weird body stuff. Sorry, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Maybe we should just always have that out there. So anyway, so then I'm talking about on TBTL. I'm like, this is like 24 hours later at this point, and everybody's like, go to the emergency room. If not an emergency room, like urgent care. Yeah. They're like, this could get serious. I started hearing from actual medical professionals who are like, first of all, there is nothing too small. Like, come in and take care of this the way it should be taken care of. And also a lot of stories from both sides of people who've both experienced this or people who've treated this before saying, like, don't mess around with this. This could get serious kind of quickly.
Yeah.
And make life much worse on you.
Yeah. You need those fingers for typing.
For typing, and if I ever learn to play the clarinet.
Right.
And so I'm starting to think more and more about that, and I'm getting in my head about it. I think the next day I tried to go spelunking again, tried digging it out, and I just couldn't. But the infection kind of went away after the second time. I cleaned it all up and tried to get it out. It could not get it out. Couldn't even reach the thing because it was like a flat splinter, if that makes sense. It was kind of flat and wide. And it was like way, way under there. And nothing was poking out anymore. It was like so far up under there. So I'm like, oh, God, I really don't want to go to a doc in the box or whatever they call those things. And I'm trying to avoid that, but I'm also prepared for the fact that I'm probably going to have to do that. But then the infection goes away within like 24 hours, and then it just kind of stabilizes. And I can see the little guy under there. And I'm like, maybe we can just coexist like those bumper stickers. Has your mom ever had a coexist bumper sticker by any chance? It just occurred to me she must have.
No, because they're corny and corporate.
Okay.
I guarantee that's why. No, she had a
That's
bunch of
fair.
other. She had a bunch of other bumper stickers. She always had a ton of bumper stickers. She was like one of the first people I knew who had like a rainbow, like across
nice,
the back of
yeah.
her car. And I remember some kids at like junior high were like, "Is your mom a lesbian?" And I was like, "I mean, basically, but no." And they're like,
Was it
like,
those classic, really thin kind? They were like
Yeah,
a little,
that's the
like a
one.
ribbon that went across. Yeah, those are classic.
And I was like, "No, you don't have to be gay to support gay people." Ugh. And I
Yeah.
was right.
And you were right, and your folks raised you right.
Wait,
by
so
the way-
is the splinter still with us?
We'll get there.
Okay.
We have all day. We don't have any emails or voicemails today. We got the don't
That's
you
true.
rush me. This
Okay.
is important stuff.
Okay.
You know me, I like to keep it tight.
I know.
I want to tell you about a bumper sticker I saw the other day. And I don't usually go in for like obscene or just like those sarcasmo bumper stickers. But I was parking next to this car, and all I could see was small lettering and then the word asshole and then small lettering, and it was like a window sticker, I think. This car was just peppered with stickers. But that one caught my attention, and then later on, I finally got close to it enough to see that it was a dumper of a car that had like had a club on it, which I always
Sure.
thought was an interesting look. And then the bumper sticker said, "I never thought I'd grow up to be an asshole, but here I am killing it." And I was like, I was not expecting that level of kind of self-awareness in this crude bumper sticker.
I have to say, nowhere on earth have I ever been where the bumper sticker game was as on point as Portland. Portland,
Oh, I
Oregon.
believe that.
I mean, just the variety, the like self-awareness like that, right? Like our neighbor has a bumper sticker that says like, "Don't bother me, I'm having a crisis." And so and we don't know that neighbor's name, so we just call that
Yeah.
one neighbor having a crisis because like but yeah, so there if you ever want to see a lot of really like off the wall bumper stickers, Portland is the place. So Splinter.
So anyway, back to the splinter. So I'm prepared to go to a doctor or something, but I want to keep an eye on things. I definitely don't want to go if I absolutely don't need to. And honestly, the situation sort of dies down. The splinter's under there. But then as the days go on, Hannah, it starts getting loose. It starts kind of growing out a little bit until like maybe 4 or 5 days later, I was able to actually start to grab the very tip of it with probably with the pin at first. Maybe
So
actually,
it
you know what I
was
think it was?
hitching a ride.
It was hitching a ride, and I think what finally happened was one of my fingernails on my other hand kind of got long enough that I could wedge. My own fingernail was the tool that I needed, and it kind of
man.
pushed it out a little bit, and so I was able to like kind of pull that thing out, and it didn't come out as one big piece because it had been under there for a while, but it definitely like kind of flaked out of there. And all I had left was this kind of discoloration that used to be way back deep in the very corner of my fingernail. And now look how close it is to
yeah.
almost not even existing anymore. I can't get the camera to focus
Yeah.
right because I'm behind it. But yeah, it's almost gone. So what does this, you want to know, have to do with cleaning? Well,
love
with
to know.
all of this advice that I had gotten from folks, mostly people telling me to go to the doctor, one kind soul said, you don't have to go to the doctor. Get yourself some Epsom salt. And I said, I've always heard of Epsom salt, but I have no idea what Epsom salt is, and why would I get myself Epsom salt for this? And it turns out this person says you're supposed to like soak your finger in it, and it'll extract anything in your body. The way this listener put it, I could have been in battle, Game of Thrones style, and had an arrow pierced all the way through me, but if I soaked in Epsom salt, long enough, eventually it would just draw itself
float out.
That's how it was described to me. I'm like, well, this sounds like a miracle. So I was at the grocery store during this period. Maybe this whole thing lasted maybe a week and a half. And so I bought myself a bag of this stuff. They did not have a little pouch of it. I was hoping for like a little dime bag or something, like a little
Just a
Coke
burlap
bag of
sack.
it. Yeah, exactly. Like a wizard handed me. But no, I had to get like this big ass bag of it at like the grocery store. So I bought it, but then the thing started to just come out on its own before I ever got to soak it in the Epsom salt. And all of this is to say, I hope that was a good journey because that's all I got. All of this is to say, I got a big-ass bag of Epsom salt, and I don't know what to do with it. I have no idea what it's for. People say they soak in it. I don't know what that means. So I started looking up. I was like, I don't know. Maybe you can clean with it. And so I have a little article I found, and
Wait, can I
I'm
ask a
already
really dumb
irritated
question?
by it. Yes.
What makes it Epsom salt?
Hannah, I was going to ask you this. I wanted to know, here's how I wanted to do this. I found this article from 2024 from Southern Living Magazine.
Great.
8 ways to clean with Epsom salt that you probably never thought about. And we're going to go through it, and we're going to have flashbacks to the early days of Spotless, by the way.
Okay.
But before we do that, can you tell me everything that you know about Epsom salt?
I know that people soak in it. I think I remember when I was a young person and I was getting a lot of piercings, I feel like part of the healing process was like soak. Like I have a very distinct memory of when I got my cartilage pierced, like sitting with my head in a bowl of salty water. But that also might have just been table salt. I don't know. I don't know.
Were you in trouble? Maybe this was a punishment.
That would have been a very creative punishment. I think. What else do I?
Soak your ears in salt.
Go soak your ears, which is also just what I'm going to tell people when they're acting up from here on out. But I think, and I know people take it orally. I know you can swish your mouth with it, and I think sometimes people use it as like a, not a diuretic, but like a laxative, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, let me type in what is Epsom salt for.
But I also
WebMD
don't
comes
know
up
what
right
it
away.
is. Why? Like, what is the difference? It's not NaCl. It's not table salt. It's not sea salt. Like, what is it that makes it Epsom?
I'm going to read you directly from WebMD.
Okay.
This is an article written in July of 2024. This article was literally written 1 year ago today. It was published.
That's always so weird when that happens.
It's today's date. That's so weird. It says WebMD. If you're reading this, you're probably going to die soon. Yep, that's what I always get from WebMD.
It's a little banner that pops up that's just like,
pops up.
You're dead.
Says,
yeah.
Bye. Mm-hmm. It says, you pulled a muscle lifting weights at the gym. I love this. We're jumping right in with second-person scenarios.
Quite narrative.
I love a good second-person usage. You pulled a muscle lifting weights at the gym. Your skin won't stop itching. Or maybe your arthritis is acting up. Is there anything you can do besides wait it out? Your grandma could have had the answer. Epsom salts have been used for hundreds of years to ease all kinds of aches, pains, and skin troubles. A simple soak in the tub may help you feel better. See, this is already the beginnings of what I'm worried about with this stuff.
This is a really big promise.
It sounds like it's one of those things, you can use it for anything.
Yeah.
And it probably doesn't work for anything. I don't know. I mean, the person
We
told
don't
me
know. We're both Epsom salt novices.
I'll tell you what. I never dipped my finger in it, but the splinter definitely decided to get out of my finger after I bought this stuff. It might have
saw
seen it
that
sitting
Epsom
there,
salt coming.
and it was like, oh no, I'll do it myself.
He's bringing
I'll
out the
do
big
it
guns.
myself. So anyway, it says Epsom salts aren't like the stuff you put on fries. They're called salts because of their chemical structure. They contain magnesium and sulfate. Epsom comes from a place in England where the salts are found in natural springs. You can find them in drugstores, usually around aspirin and the like. Let's see here. So that is what it is. It's and then I guess you are supposed to soak in it for soreness and pain and inflammation and fibromyalgia. Yes, okay. I said that correctly. I saw that word. I saw that word coming. I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. That's a tough word for me. But anyway, it's just one of those things where it sort of sounds like, and this is my problem, this is starting to sound reminiscent of everything that we said about like baking soda. When we started Spotless, a lot of our conversations were around what are cleaning products and supplies that we can use that aren't full of chemicals and maybe aren't even like kind of store-bought things. And almost everything comes down to some combination of using vinegar or baking soda or something. And often the baking soda it's just an abrasive. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's a chemical reaction. And that's what I'm getting from this Southern Living thing. It says, because I thought I have this big bag of Epsom salt. Maybe I can start using it to clean things. And don't forget, I still have a giant bag of citric acid that I bought.
I thought of you the other day
years ago
because
now.
I had to go out and buy citric acid
God damn it, I
because
should
we
have sent you
were.
some.
Well, I mean, it's very inexpensive.
I know, it's too inexpensive. I have
I
like
know.
a pound and a half of it.
So we picked it up because we were cleaning our grill, the grills, the like cast iron bits of the grill, just because they had some rust on them. And so, and I was like, I'm pretty sure you can just soak them in citric acid, and it helps. Like something about the acid helps break up the rust, like oxidizes the rust. So I like went to the hardware store, our local like whatever True Value, and picked it up. And but it was funny because I was like, oh yeah, I remember. I think Andrew still has a whole bunch of citric acid.
Tons of it. I said a pound and a half, but that's not true. I had to buy a 5-pound bag, and I've probably not used even a pound of it yet. One thing that I was happy to learn is you could use the citric acid to descale your coffee maker.
Yes.
You know, my coffee maker is often yelling at me. In fact, I'm realizing I don't think I've done that in like a year. How are you really good at staying on top of that?
I am not, because I would just as soon use like citric acid or vinegar or whatever and just run it through. But Keith really likes to use the like designated coffee cleaner router. And so I've sort of let him be in charge of that because he has such strong feelings about it. And I'm like, I would just run it through with citric acid. But so, I mean, ideally you're supposed to do it pretty regularly.
That's a pretty good use for my citric acid. It doesn't take very much. So you take like, I don't even know what. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. But like you take, I don't know, a tablespoon, you put in some water and you run it through the
you just run it through
maker,
and make sure it is getting all the way through. So with the Epsom salts, what are the cleaning applications? You said it's for as an abrasive, and so I imagine like the tub and you know maybe your like glass cooktop, and because it's probably gentler than other abrasives, so it won't scratch stuff.
Yep. And so the Southern Living magazine article, which was written exactly 1 year ago today. No, that's a total lie. That was written in November of last year. It sort of says, and again, this is kind of coming from a Southern perspective. It says every Southern household has a bag of Epsom salts tucked away in a bathroom or linen closet somewhere. I wonder if that's true, if it is kind of a regional thing. But they say you can also use it to clean. And it says the very first thing, scrub tile. The abrasiveness of Epsom salt combined with liquid dish detergent can help your tile shine and get into the grout to clean out the grime. So again, it sort of sounds like, oh yeah, we're always just mixing little like powders into dish soap or water to create a paste, right? It says you can freshen carpets with it. Okay, this is tempting because I do buy like brand name carpet freshener. I think maybe on your recommendation from Grove or something. I can't remember the brand.
Oh yeah, but it's like literally just baking soda and
some baking soda with
oils.
A little bit of essential oil that I think is lavender scented for us or something. But this says mix Epsom salt with essential oils, sprinkle on carpets, let sit, then vacuum to freshen up the room. And that's from Jade Piper, operations manager for Better Cleans. So that's tempting. Actually, although I don't have a lot of essential oils sitting around. You do, huh?
I have some. I wished I had more, again, recently. We are deep into like pest season, and I don't know if you're having this issue in Seattle, but the spiders are out of control here. We are just finding these little spiders building their little webs like in weird places inside of our home. And I was reading about how, cedar oil is supposed to help maybe keep them out. And I don't have any. I used up all my cedar oil because of trying to get rats out of my car. It's we're living through plague times here. It is
we
just
really are.
nonstop pestilence.
I had to kill a little spider today. I was in the bedroom. You don't want spiders in your bedroom.
No.
Unless you're a spider, I guess. And this guy wasn't one of the really beefy guys, but it was big enough, but it was more like a daddy long legs or something in that family with a really, really long. He took up a lot of space because of these long, spindly legs. And at first I thought it was just like a hairball, or not a hairball, but like a.
Yeah.
Our cat Bingo has become a different cat in the past 4 months. We thought he was a normal haired cat, whatever you call that. Then we're like, oh, is he gonna be a long hair? He was like a medium haired cat for the first 3 years. Then right before summer hit, he has poofed out. He has got a mane that is ridiculous. Sometimes he's sitting in a way it doesn't look like he has a head. He's gotten to be such a long-haired cat. And I tell him, I love him. I never thought I'd be somebody who had a long-haired cat. That's not usually the cat for me. But I love him no matter what. I want to make that very, very clear. But it is really weird to be the owner of a super long-haired cat now.
Is it like cat puberty?
Mane.
What is this?
He started noticing other cats. Anyway, so we have these big kind of hair, not kind of fluffy ball. They look like he's white, so it looks like these big cotton balls.
Yeah.
And for a second, I thought it was a cotton ball, and then I was like, "Oh, that cotton ball's moving! That cotton ball's moving!" And so I had to just unceremoniously just sort of crush the spider in a tissue and get rid of it. I know people don't like hearing that.
They're out of control this year. We just have so many, and so I'm. If anybody has ways to keep spiders out of your house, let me know. Okay.
Ooh, Epsom salt. It says sprinkle Epsom salt around your house to keep spiders out. What do you know about that?
What can't it do?
What can it do? It says polish pots and pans, remove mold and mildew, deodorize shoes. That and the carpet thing seems like, I guess if you sprinkle it in something, this stuff can absorb odor the way baking soda can, I guess that could be useful. But why wouldn't you just use baking soda?
I'm curious about that as well. Although I did also see that another way you can do it is run it through your washing machine to descale your washing machine. So I could see that being helpful if you have if you've been having stinky laundry, maybe, and you have, I guess, a bag of Epsom salts chilling somewhere, you could send that through. And then I also saw that you could use Epsom salts to clean the toilet, and I could definitely see how that abrasive, gentle abrasion could be useful as well.
This one also says you can use it in your laundry to brighten the laundry. But again, I just sort of feel like people are just I don't know, you can throw it in there. It's it seems like it's not going to do any harm, but I'm really dubious that you're going to put Epsom salt in your laundry and it's going to come out brighter.
What's wild is all of these are basically the same things that baking soda promises.
Exactly.
It feels to me that Arm & Hammer just had a better lobbyist and put out all of no, baking soda can do everything. And then Epsom salt was over here excuse me, governor, because it's English.
Good call there.
And just not getting the attention that it's owed.
Yeah. Anyway, well, we're at the bottom of the article. It also says you can scrub hubcaps. But again, that's just using it as an abrasive.
Yeah.
We're at the end of the article. It says, was this page helpful? I can give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, Hannah. This is a big deal. What are we going to do?
I found it very helpful because I didn't.
You found it helpful?
This has really opened a whole new realm to me.
I gave him a thumbs up. It says, thanks for your feedback. I'm trying to explain here that it was really Hannah, whatever. I'll get to that later.
You'll leave a Yelp review at a later date.
Yeah, so I got this bag of Epsom salt. Don't buy any Epsom salt, Hannah. Okay. I will ship some to you. It really bums me out that now we both have too large of bags of citric acid.
My citric acid is little, though. It actually was very...
Really?
It came like this. Yeah, and here's the tip. Okay, so two things, one of which is a thing I've talked about a lot before, which is that if you're looking for cleaning products, hit up your local hardware store. Hardware stores always have an amazing cleaning product aisle, which you might not expect.
Yes.
And they're very specific. But two, if you're looking for citric acid and it's not with the cleaning products, I found it in my little hardware store has a section for canning, canned goods, and how to can foods and stuff. And that's where it was.
Store.
Yes.
I love this.
Yes, and there's jars and whatever, brine salts, and then that's where the citric acid was. It was very interesting to me.
What is your hardware store?
It is a True Value, but it's a little, locally, it's a very small, locally owned one. It's on MLK in Portland, and it feels like going back in time to a country store. It's really quaint, and they either have exactly what you need or nothing that you need, always. But every time I go in there, I just feel like I'm time traveling.
I love that. What is so my place, we've talked about it on the show before, so I think you know the one I'm talking about. The one I think of first is like on Roosevelt in the Maple Leaf neighborhood. Is it an Ace? Ace is the place with
I don't
it's the red vest.
remember. Yes. Yeah. So that's an Ace. Yeah.
That's an Ace.
Yeah.
I love that store so much. I go in, there's usually like literally a line, if not just one or two, sometimes like a line of 3 or 4 employees wearing their red vests, like standing there waiting to say, how can I help you the second you walk in? And then they will just help
Wow.
you find. I've looked for very specific, like kind of nut and bolt combinations or something for some weird project, or literally like some plumbing disaster I found myself in my old rental place. And I just like, you walk in and right away they're like, we are here to help you, like almost like a personal shopper.
That's amazing because my Ace, there's an Ace on Broadway, and that one is staffed almost entirely by teens who look like they are there as part of their like parole situation. Like
That's
they
interesting.
they are not happy to be there, and they are not really that ready to help you. Which is
Really?
fine. I don't need teens to assist me when I'm purchasing sponges or whatever
do.
I'm buying.
Ace isn't the place
It
with
is
the
not.
helpful hardware folk. Mine is. Mine certainly is. These guys are great, and they range in age. Some of them are like, like they seem like to be close to retirement age, and others are like young people.
See, this is what I expect from a hardware
Yeah.
store is like I want some dude who looks like
Yeah.
some grandfather who's just
Yeah.
there because he loves hardware stores. And then he's like, oh my gosh, you don't even have to pay me. I just love to be here. No, I don't think I've ever seen someone over the age of like 25 at my Ace.
That's a real
But I
bummer.
mean,
Yeah,
plus,
one
you
ti-
know, teens got to work somewhere.
I remember one of them, even like one of the older guys. I was like, I was like, thank you so much. I'm always a little bit gushing. I'm like, thanks so much for the help and the patience or whatever. I'm just like, what is it going to take me to get into one of these red vests? He's like, we can get you a red vest. He was like really invested in me, maybe joining the team.
He's going to jump you in. Yeah. Well, that's good. Don't you need? I think you probably need some sort of a what do they call like a rabbi or to like let you in.
What do they do to jump you in? I'm trying to think. They take scouring pads and they scour you for a little bit and then
No,
you're
they
in.
just throw a bunch of like different sizes of screws on the ground, and they're like, you have
yeah.
to arrange these by size and type.
Oh
Go.
my God, that literally was my job for a while when I worked for my dad in this fab shop. Guys would go out on these jobs with a whole bunch of like fasteners, and then they would come back with like just buckets of unorganized bolts, screws, nuts, or whatever. And then we had like basically a library with little kind of almost like drawers that would pull out for every single, like both by width and by length, right? And so and God, I mean, you want to talk about a job that's right for me. I woke up this morning, I told Vives, how can I just get a job alphabetizing things for people? Like, that's my skill set. You hire me. I'm an alphabetizer for hire.
Isn't that just
You
called
have
a
something-
librarian?
I could be a librarian, could be part of it. What do you need alphabetized in your life, Hannah?
Nothing because I live with Keith Caswell, and he also loves he loves to sort.
What if we did that together? He and I go in business together. Is there enough demand for alphabet? When I went, okay, I'm gonna move off of this. Sorry, and I
Two
will-
dudes sorting LLC.
I'm going to give you the rest of the show because I'm annoying myself at this point. But I did think you might find it funny that way back in the year 2000, it was right around the election time, is when I met Genevieve, because my buddy Paul, who I knew from high school, had flown me out to his new city of Boston to spend a week with him. And this is eventually how I ended up meeting Genevieve out there in Boston. But before I even ended up having dinner with him and her and some friends, the first night I was there, and again, keep in mind, I just graduated college. He's a year out of college. I land. He takes me back to his apartment. He's 1 year older than me, but of course he seems so much older, right, at that age. We get ourselves some beer. We spend my first night in Boston alphabetizing his magnetic poetry on his refrigerator. It was a project that we kept up throughout the entire week. The week culminated. I flew out on Wednesday. The Tuesday before was the famous 2000 election. And I remember waking up and listening to NPR all day. Paulie had to go to work. I just turned on NPR, listened about hanging chads and all kinds of stuff, and I just finished the alphabetizing project of a huge thing. His entire refrigerator and freezer covered alphabetized magnetic poetry.
Julie is screaming right now because when we had magnetic poetry, the first thing she did was alphabetize it. And
What?
our magnetic poetry on our refrigerator was in like alphabetical.
Wait a second. Now, okay, it's not shocking to hear that me and my friend, who's very much like me, would have this inclination. But I'm not trying to stereotype your mom, and of course your mom is listening. But like that seems to go against type, right?
She is just an exercise in paradox because
I love it.
we literally used to play a game called What Mom Likes, What Mom Doesn't Like because it was her tastes are so specific, and there's things that she is absolute chaos in, and then there's areas where she is like ruthlessly organized. Like she kept a calendar so every year in January or like end of December, early January, we would all 5 of us go to the mall together, and everyone to go to the calendar kiosk, and everyone would pick out a calendar, and that was gonna be their calendar for the year. And then my mom would take all of our calendars, and then she would also get one that was called the Busy Family calendar that had 5 people's worth of stuff, sort of on it. And she would go through and she would write in every like birthdays, important days, and she would transport them over from last year's calendar to this year's calendar, and then she would copy it into everybody's, and then you get your calendar back, and then we all had the same, and then we would hang the calendar on the wall. Like, so there's things that, and I feel like I'm like this too. There are some things that I'm hyper organized on, and then there's some things that I'm like, I do not. Like, Keith is forever trying to get us to organize all of our sort of like junk drawers. We have 2 that are sort of a mismatch. He is forever trying to figure out a way to like really organize those, and I do not care. But there are things that I do very much care about because, and like per this show, there are some things for me that when they're organized, it helps with the overall cleanliness and tidiness. Like I keep the cleaning supplies pretty well organized. When you first enter our home, there's our like shoe thingy, the thing that has the shoes on it. I every other day go through and like restack the shoes and make sure everything is like tidy like that. And I don't think he hears about that at all. And so I think there's just things that are very, and like cleanliness and tidiness was not my mother's forte at all. But there was like organizational stuff that she was very invested in.
That's interesting because that also kind of gets into, I think, something we're going to talk about in a little bit here, which is like the difference between cleaning and kind of straightening, like something being dirty versus something being organized.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because those are 2 very, very different things. But I do love that your mom contains multitudes in that way because, I mean, we're talking about everybody contains multitudes, and I'm not trying to paint her in a corner, but like alphabetizing magnetic poetry is a pretty hardcore example of a kind, because I mean it goes against the entire purpose of magnetic poetry. It's supposed to be finding art and randomness and silliness. I would never guess that your mom, who's so like kind of open to the universe, would be like, no, it goes apple.
As soon as they came out of the box.
Oh, I did that in the wrong order.
Yeah,
I
you
can't.
did.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
You're fired.
I want to start an alphabetizing company, and I just did that in the wrong order.
That's very funny.
Can we end the show now?
No.
All right. Well, then why don't you tell me about the TikTok trend that you asked me about? You said, do you know about this thing? And I said, I do not, but I will not research it. You will tell me about it on Spotless.
I'm pretty sure I started with, you probably don't know about this, but just in case. So this has been coming up on TikTok recently, and I think it's really interesting for our specific audience and like our conversations. And it's the messy room trend. And I don't know the origins of it. It's been going on sort of all summer and maybe earlier in the spring. And there's like one song that I can't remember what it is, and we can't play it for you because copyright. But and people will just use that. And part of the idea of that song is that like, oh, like we're all different. Like some of us are just weird, and some of us are aren't sort of conventional. And I think if I had to guess, I think it probably started as sort of a backlash against the idea of people whose social media presence is like highly, highly curated, and that where everything, because I remember like last year there was a trend of people being like, oh, this is my non-aesthetic home. These are the things in my home that aren't designy, that aren't, that don't match. And so it would be like I have carpet in this room and it's tan and it's ugly and it doesn't look like most influencer homes, that have like hardwood or whatever.
But they would highlight it and say, I like
Yes.
it anyway.
Yeah, or just be like, this is normal. Because, like, there is a thing of, you know, influencers and people who make a lot of content and who a lot of people follow, they do tend to have, like, very curated, it seems like, lives, right? Which we all need to disabuse ourselves of any of that. And also, anytime, literally, any single time you see someone make a video of, like, day in the life or, like, this is what I did today, I just want you to think about you being present for when they did that and how unbelievably fucking stupid they must have looked. Like setting up a tripod in a Target so that you can watch them pluck something off a shelf.
Yeah.
Because, like, think about what it looks like on the other side of that phone and how ridiculous this is. Because, like, ugh. But anyway, so a lot of, you know, people's homes as they present them on social are very decorated and, you know, they're really tidy. So I think this is sort of a backlash of that. But the issue is that sort of some of the most well-known of these messy rooms are not messy rooms. They are straight up biohazards. And mostly what I have taken away is that there are a lot of people in this world who are living in legit, like, filth. And I want to be clear, you know, a lot of people say, like, oh, it's like, because, like, I was really depressed and so, like, I wasn't doing whatever.
Yeah.
I would say two things. One, I am a person who lives with and is medicated for bipolar disorder. Don't talk to me about depression like I don't know what I'm talking about. And two, I have never, and maybe this is just my privilege, but I have never been so depressed that I left stacks and stacks of dirty dishes and, like, moldy food next to my bed or on my bed, which is, like, what you see in these videos. Like, it is just literal garbage piled up. It looks like a hoarder house.
I'm looking at the I'm on the hashtag page now that is sort of like rounding them up for me. So this is my first experience. I really didn't want to I wanted you to explain it to me before I started watching. I'm glad I did because you've kind of given me the context of why you would even make this video and that it's kind of a backlash to another. I don't know, man. It's hard for me to talk about this stuff because I really don't want to be judgmental because I'm just so. I don't have the disposition to be somebody who's like super online like this anyway. Even if I were the age or the generation of this stuff, I think I'm just the attitude that I wouldn't be into it. So it's really hard for me not to sound judgmental on any side of this. But to what you were just saying about like saying, hey, it's okay to just let's show people what life really looks like because maybe some of these overly curated life experiences are actually giving people kind of a bad feeling because they can't live up to that.
Yeah.
So it comes from a good place. But also, if you're showing a place that is so damn messy because you were in sort of even some sort of a mental crisis or whatever it is, that's fine. I don't want to judge you. But also, I guess and again, this is so old manny, but like, that's fine. I don't judge you. But why are you putting it online?
Yeah.
Like, why are you putting on these extreme examples? Do you think anybody's faking it just to get clicks?
I think some of it would be really hard to fake because of just the sheer volume. But like, and a lot of them are like teenagers too, right? Or they're like very young. And when I was a teen and a tween, I would like leave laundry on the floor, you know, and whatever. And my room also at times looked like a clothing bomb had gone off. But that was for a couple of reasons. One, I didn't have good storage in my bedroom, right? I had like a dresser that didn't really work for my needs. And my closet was very small and I never had enough hangers. I'd have to go like steal hangers from other people's closets in the house. Like I just didn't have a good routine for how to put things away. And I no longer live that way. Now, when I look at videos like that, I'm like, I can't believe y'all just put stuff on the floor like that. That there's just stuff on the floor. And like, I think one of my number one rules of keeping things tidy is don't put shit on the floor.
Sure, yeah.
Like just as a basic. And so I know too, if you're young and you might not have the right like structures, you might, if you like, I think about back when I lived in an apartment that was completely furnished with things I found on the side of the road per our, last episode. And so, yeah, you don't always have like the best structures in place to like maintain tidiness, but I think there's also a very big difference between untidy and like dirty and like not clean, actually clean, like surfaces where you could catch a disease because they are so, or having like mold spores in the air. And I think the idea of normalizing like regular life is perfect because I think influencer culture is pretty toxic. But I don't know that we want to normalize like fast food wrappers tucked under your pillow, you know? Like I actually don't think that we should decide that that's okay because it can't be good for your like I don't know that there's anyone who you could tell me like, no, it's really better for their mental health to just live in abject filth. Like I don't think that's true.
I'm clicking through a lot of these right now, and the thing is, nothing is normal about some of these things I'm saying.
This is what I'm saying.
So one of these, in fact, it looks, I don't know if this has music. I'm not too worried about that, but I can tell from the subtitles that this does have somebody talking on this for a second. Let me just see if I can bring the audio up on this one, and then I'll describe to you what we're seeing.
So if you've had enough.
Oh, this is the song,
okay.
though. Yeah, this is the song.
Yeah. Okay, that's what you're worried about.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the subtitles are just like there's nobody actually saying it. Somebody's just like kind of tagging this, but it says, "Take note, you kids. This is what happens when you don't clean your room for 20 years." I'll be posting the whole story soon. But what I'm seeing here is not a messy room. I mean, this is, and again, I want to be very careful with labels, but this one is clearly an example of somebody who's hoarding. This is like mountains and mountains and mountains of stuff and just trash and everything that is like, I don't even know how it's all staying balanced up to the ceiling. And they say they didn't clean their room for 20 years, but I see a quick glimpse of the person who's filming this in a mirror, and he seems to be wearing like he could just be wearing a COVID mask, but I don't think so. I think he's in this disgusting room, which is why he's wearing the mask.
Oh,
so
is he like a cleaner, like an actual professional cleaner?
Maybe. He doesn't look like it. I can't tell if it's his or somebody else's, but like my buddy, whose name I won't use here, for some reason his he and his mom were responsible for cleaning out some old man's home. I think maybe a neighbor, maybe a family relation, but I think just a neighbor or something. And he knows I'm into like weird ephemera and stuff from like the 80s or whatever. So he was sort of sending me at first like, hey, look what we found, like this weird thing that was buried.
Sure.
But he was sending me video upon video upon video, and it looked like this. It was like somebody who is in some sort of a mental state where it's okay to have somewhat of a messy room. I thought this was going to be about the trend that I sort of noticed, which is so judgy of me. But even like years ago when TikTok was kind of newer and hotter, and it was really like people were all doing all their dances or their little performances in their home with their kids or their friends or whatever, and I would just be like, man, I'm not posting dance videos of myself online anyway, but if I did, I'd probably pick up that dirty laundry in the background that is just like covering the chairs or whatever. But this has gone beyond. This is people showing examples of like extreme unlivable situations.
Yes. And I think that's where there's been then the sort of pendulum swing. And I was first made aware of this by someone being like, y'all, this is out of control. And in fact, we should not be like telegraphing to, tweens on this app that letting your room get to this point is anywhere near okay. And whenever I tell people I have a podcast about cleaning, the first thing they always say to me is, oh gosh, you can't come over to my house then because you'll really, you'll really judge it. And it's like, no, 100% not. Like my desk is not, pristine at all times. Our house has like stuff sitting on the table for days and, things that we just leave around. I left my sunglasses on an end table for like a couple days and then they were lost, but they weren't actually lost. I just didn't put them away, which is like one of my cardinal rules is just like put it away. And I also am a person who lives with ADHD. So for me, cleaning comes often in fits and starts. There's like one day where I will just spend all day cleaning.
Yeah.
I know that one, not everybody has that privilege to be able to spend time cleaning like that. Two, I know that some people don't operate like that. That's fine. But I would never judge someone's home for mess, which is things on the floor, laundry, whatever, because we're all on our own journey. I reserve the right to judge someone whose home looks like you could sustain harm just from being in that space.
Yeah,
because
right.
I do think that that's different, and I think that's one of the issues with these videos is tagging them as messy is like not accurate, and I think when people think of their own homes as messy, then that's like sort of the question and again, whenever I tell people that I have a cleaning podcast, the next thing they usually do is be like, oh my God, how do you keep your house clean? How do you keep on top of it? And like, one, I don't have kids. So that's very helpful.
Exactly,
Not having kids is a really simple way to keep your house tidier. That's just a fact.
Yes, that's for both of us. And flexible, we're both adults with flexible schedules, work from home. Like we have a lot of privilege in that regard.
Yeah. And like, it is like keeping your house clean. Like there is something very political about keeping your house clean. But the other thing that I noticed a lot in these messy home videos was a lot of it is also due to like hyper consumption. It's people who have just too many things. If you have that much stuff, then it's going to gather. Like that's kind of the thing with stuff, is if you have more of it than you can fit in your space, you're going to end up with piles. You're going to end up with things on the floor because you're out of surfaces to put them on or like drawers to put them in, right? Mm-hmm. And so I do think it's also sort of it's a deeply American issue as well, which is just like having a lot of stuff. But the other thing I was thinking about and why I wanted to talk to you about this, because I think it's interesting, again, for our listeners who I know range on, like there are plenty of people who listen to this podcast who don't keep a super tidy home. And this is either like inspiration to start cleaning or it's like a way to sort of figure it out. And so like I want, in the interest of being instructive, just to say that like if you are looking at a room with a really big mess, and I wanted to ask you this, Andrew, and I wanted to ask the listeners this question, where would you start? If you walked into a room and like not the kind that the place is going to have to be like decontaminated, but like just like a very messy, like teenager's room, right? Like clothes all over the floor, probably some dishes hidden around. Where do you start?
And this is not this is not my mess, right? That's the key.
Although it could be it could be your mess, but
Okay, start by quitting. I get some gloves. You mentioned if there's food stuff, and this is not a food stuff house, I'm probably getting that out of there right away. Anything that has like, that had food on it, glasses, cutlery, dishes, those don't belong in a bedroom, once you're done using them. And so maybe it's just because you said that's what I'm going to right away. But you also just got to start getting things off the ground. I mean, you just got. So I'm going to start by probably getting the stuff out of the room that doesn't belong in the room anyway. Get that out of there because that's going to clear up some space. And then I'm guessing that based on these videos I'm watching and kind of how you're describing it, I'm assuming there's clothes all over the place. I'm probably just picking up all of the clothes and getting that into like a bag or a basket and getting it ready for the wash. And then it's almost like, it's like carving from a big block of marble. You got this big block of marble, and little by little, you got to just kind of pick the stuff up and start to reveal what's inside the stone, right? And so I think you got to start by getting rid of the clutter. And so I'm going to start with glassware and stuff, and then clothes probably, and just get everything out of there.
I think that's about right. I would also, in some of these cases, start with just like trash. Like just start with the literal garbage, like wrappers or, like just empty bottles, like whatever it is, just go in there with a garbage bag. And this is the moment when you are spared from doing anything for Mother Gaia because you really just need to throw shit out. Like, I don't care. Like, just put it in a bag, get it gone. And then I think you're right, too, to go with the laundry part of it, because if you sort of just like, zoom in with your Terminator vision and you look for just like the clothing objects, those have a really easy second place to go, which is laundry, right? Whether you do laundry in your house or you do laundry out of your house, like you said, like having a laundry basket. I do this as well when I come home from a trip, whenever I'm like, if I travel or whatever. I just take all of the clothes out of the suitcase and wash them all. Like, I don't bother to sort out, like, what I wore versus what I didn't wear. I just wash it all.
Unless it's very obvious, I often will do that. Sometimes I'll be like, well, these are still clean, but I'm with you. Just err towards the sides, just washing everything.
It's easier. It's easier to just put it all in with laundry because that's all one thing, right? And I would also say in a lot of these, like, if you really are staring down, like, the barrel of a bad mess, I think making a dent, like you said, like, starting to carve it out is easier than saying like, oh, I'm going to clean this whole room, right? Looking at the whole thing. Because one thing I hear a lot from people with regard to cleaning is the overwhelm of it all, is feeling like there's just too much to do. And so if you're a list person, like I'm a list person, and so when I am doing my chores, I make my list and I give myself that little dopamine of like crossing it off. If you're not a list person, that's fine. Just set like one little goal, like get all the dishes out of here, get the floor cleared. I also don't know how people live with stuff on their floor. Like, I just feel like I would be, if I'm stepping on stuff, that is going to drive me, like, that is such a sensory nightmare to me. The idea of, like, tripping over things. Like, it's bad enough that there's sometimes dog toys on the ground. Like, that's kind of the only thing that's ever on the floor in our house.
Yeah.
And so I can't, like, if you need to clear a path, do whatever you need to do. But I think the overwhelm of cleaning the whole space is a very easy way to then just shut down and not do anything. And so like doing one thing, like taking on one category, get all the trash out or pull all the clothes out or all the dishes out, you know. And then once you've done that one category, if you're just like done, then you're done. That's fine. You did that one thing, do something else tomorrow. And if you're not and you like have the wind behind you, great, then you can keep going.
Yeah.
But I really think like chipping away at it is the way, because I know that it's very easy to feel like crushed under the weight of everything that needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, you and I, again, it's like kind of it's a curse and a blessing at the same time, but I think you and I are the type of people who can't be comfortable in an ultra chaotic, messy situation. Like I think some people will be like, oh, I just got back from this trip. So like when I get back from a trip, I mean, first of all, that's my favorite part of the trip. I'm back home, which doesn't probably speak well of my adventurous spirit. But for me, it's kind of like I have this big work trip coming up, so I'm looking forward already to like, and that's next week. I'm already looking forward to the moment where I get home at the end of that trip and I can be like, okay, I got that done. Now, this is a pretty high stress situation, but also even on a vacation or something, you get home. I think the instinct for probably more people than not is to be like, I'll deal with unpacking later. Like, I'm just so tired. I just want to sit on this couch and turn on whatever mindless TV comforts me, right? Whereas for me, that's my favorite part. Like, I don't sit on it for a moment. I open up that suitcase, you know, I crack a beer, I put on something really stupid on TV, might smoke a joint, and open
Whatever
that
it
thing
takes.
up, and I'm just going to spend the next kind of couple of hours just kind of like reintegrating myself into my home. I love it. I love doing that. I like emptying the suitcase, putting everything directly in the washing machine. There's something about doing a load of laundry that feels very fulfilling to me, and I don't know, putting the world back in order. But I just don't think most people are that way, and so that's because I guess I'm just try to put myself in the mindset of somebody whose messes could get as bad as what I'm seeing online here. You know what I mean? Because I just would never be comfortable with that.
Right. And I think that's the other thing too, is if you find yourself, you know, like I've seen people say like, oh, I try to keep it clean, but I just can't. Right. And you have just described the structure within, or the structure you have to unpack, right? And it involves like cracking a beer, like, you know, putting on something on TV. And like you said, like a lot of people would probably just want to like come home and zone out. You can kind of zone out while you're doing laundry. Like it's not it's not a huge mental load to do laundry, right? Or to even just to like get laundry started. And I think, you know, for me, like we've talked about, I walk around with my iPad playing true crime while I clean, and that's my little like reward bundle. But I think having similar structures like that in your everyday life is also really possible. And if you have that hard of a time keeping your room clean, it goes back to what we always talk about, which is like, then you don't have a good system, generally speaking. If you have a hard time keeping your room clean, then you don't have the right spaces for things. Whatever your kind of storage space situation is either it doesn't work for you or there's not enough of it. And, you know, if walking your dishes out of the room is like more than you can bear at that point, at least having a designated place where they go near the door so that the next time you do go out, you're like, okay, just take those with, like, just take them with, and it's no extra effort. I was going to go in there anyway, right? Because the other thing is, too, if you have dishes in your room, that means you're going to the kitchen sometimes. Have a one in, one out policy.
Yeah,
like, you don't even have to put them away immediately, but if you're going back to the kitchen later, take some of those dishes with you so that they don't accumulate. You know, like these are the systems you can build in. And I think most people can manage that My other question though is like, where is everybody else who, like, where are these kids' parents? Like, I'm not a parent, I cannot judge, but my real question, like, when I look in something and I'm like, there are grown adults like whose house this is, and when you let your space get to a certain point of mess, like, you are also gonna start harming the space itself, right? The floors, the walls, like, it's bad for the structure. And I'm just always like, who's the homeowner here? Like, who's taking financial responsibility for this?
Although here's the thing too, like when I clicked on this hashtag a second ago and it brings up, I'm not looking on my phone, I'm looking on the web because I'm sitting here in my studio, and so the way it appears is it's showing me like I don't know, like 15 videos here that rise to the top, and I'm sure those are the ones that are most egregious because they're the ones that are most clicked upon. You know what I mean? So also what you're seeing is either people taking advantage of knowing like, well, this I will film this, whether it's real or in some cases maybe even somewhat staged, although who knows, because I'm going to get a reaction from people, and they got those reactions. Like, I don't think that you're seeing a real cross-section of how people live their lives. That's why I sort of felt like my own personal obsession with, and again, I know this makes me sound very judgy, which is something I try not to do on this topic, but if I'm just privately scrolling and I'm seeing these videos where the mess or the cleanliness or lack thereof of the room has nothing to do with the video at all. It's really just, look, it's me and my friends doing this dance, and again, like teenage kids or whatever. And I'm sort of thinking more like 2020. I don't even know if that's really the vibe of TikTok anymore. But I was like seeing a lot of that as it filtered towards Instagram or whatever. And I'd always just be like, I was just astounded by the casualness, not the, hey, look at my room, it's messy, but just kind of like the, look at my dance. And I'm like, how can I look at your dance when you got that shit going on behind you right now, you know?
I know, and I do feel like that is when you say, like you say, a cross-section, like that is when you see it's sort of how other people's spaces are. And like, I used to be a messier person. Like, there was a period of time where either because of my mental health or like just my life situation, like I was not as tidy as I am now. But again, a big part of that was, you know, like one of the places I lived in college, I had this like tiny little room. I had one cardboard dresser, and so like my clothes would pile up on top of it because there literally wasn't room for them to go in it. And then if the pile fell over, and then I was just like, I can't deal with that right now. Now I have a pile of clothes on the floor, which is like not really what I ever wanted. And so, but also I knew that I didn't want it to be that way. So I would not have, you know, allowed anyone to see it in that manner either. But I do think that we are seeing people sort of normalizing, you know, living in your own comfort. But I also know that a lot of people have voiced that they don't necessarily like that. They don't love living like that. And if that's true, like if you're happy with it, fine. You don't care. Other people can see your mess and you're like, yes, this is how I live. I like it like this. My mental health is good when I live like this. This is fine. But if you don't like it and you are thinking about ways to like get your space under control, I think the proper structures, and that doesn't even mean you have to like buy stuff. Sometimes that just means like moving things around so they work better. And also donating some stuff. You probably have more stuff than you need. Like if your issue is that you can't stay on top of all the stuff, you might have too much stuff, and either send it to storage or donate it.
If you've had a pair of pants that have been in the bottom of a pile for 2 months, and you have lived those 2 months without those pants, maybe just
you
get
might
rid
not
of those
need
pants.
those pants.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you what I used to do at Cairo Radio? I must have. I would find it hard to believe that I haven't brought this up on the show before. And this is going to maybe, I don't know, this might offend some people. I kind of don't care. I think they got under control now. But when I worked there, you never worked there, right? No. Did you ever visit or anything? I don't know if you can picture
I visited. I recorded a few
Okay.
times there.
There's a little kitchenette area, very classic workspace kitchenette, not very big. Fridge, sink, some cupboards, and some counter space, basically, and then like some coffee machines and whatnot. And it got so bad with people leaving their dirty dishes in the sink that you would go in there and like the sink was just unusable.
Oh my God.
You'd go in there. This is a workplace, and this is also a media place. This is a place where occasionally like people
Let's say
of
politicians
influence would
come through there.
Politician, the mayor would regularly have a segment there. You know, like whatever, all kinds of people. Duff McKagan Ever tell you about that? I ever tell you about the time I was on the air? I was actually producing a different show, but I was on the air, kind of new there, and I saw a middle-aged lady walk through the newsroom through the big glass, and everybody was really, really excited about her, and I wasn't exactly sure why, and then I later found out it was Duff McKagan. Anyway, I just remember being like, "Why is everyone? Who is she? She's really everybody's excited." Anyway, all of that is to say, I worked the night shift at this point, and I was getting done with my radio show, which ended at 10 p.m., and then I would have a little bit of whatever wrap up to do or whatever. Maybe I'd leave at 10:30ish, but I would basically it would be like me and maybe one other desk editor there or something, and maybe a cleaning crew. And I decided at one point every night I'm going to throw one of these things away from the sink because they were left in there for so long that nobody was cleaning them. It was the kind where it's growing stuff. And some of them, I think I might have brought home a pint glass or two maybe that I
Nice.
like brought it home and washed it out. But also, I was just like, I'm going to throw one thing away because it's garbage now.
Yes.
You guys have relinquished this to be
Yes.
garbage. You're not using it. It's
You
at the bottom of this.
turned it into
Do you
garbage.
plan on going in at some point
Yeah.
and pulling your dish out from the bottom of this thing and cleaning
Gross.
it? No, you have no intention of doing that. Do you plan on coming in here and cleaning all of the dishes yourself? No. When you put that dish in there and you abandoned it and then let it get buried by just days and days and years of other people's things.
Wait, so the
it's
cleaning
garbage
crew
now.
didn't do the dishes?
No, I don't think the cleaning crew, and I think you can, I mean, it depends on what your contract is, but it
say,
doesn't really
yeah.
seem like that would be there. These aren't like, this isn't like, hey, we had a big function at work today
Right.
and we hired a cleaning crew. We're talking about people's lunch dishes and mugs and cup. I think a lot of them were mugs. and,
Mugs,
like-
I'm sure.
And they weren't people's personal mugs because they were like,
They're like the
radio
Cairo
station
branded,
mugs.
yeah.
Yeah, or whatever. And so then it's kind of like, well, if you guys end up not having mugs, well, then maybe that you'll learn your lesson. I don't know. I just didn't care. I was just like, you have abandoned all of this stuff, and I can't use the sink.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, and so that is also a structural issue because it probably means, so one, I would venture to guess that whatever like soap wand they had was disgusting and nobody
my
wanted to
God,
use
I
it,
can't even imagine.
right? So like the soap was like a bad situation. I'm sure people didn't like, or it's just one, it's always, I feel like especially at news stations, it's just one rancid sponge that's
God,
just
I know.
chilling on the corner of the sink. So it's like, oh, I don't want to pick that up and clean it out. So I'm just
Yeah.
going to put my mug in here. Ugh.
Ugh.
But
Yeah,
also
with like one little thing of Dawn that has like maybe
Yeah.
an eighth of soap in it.
exactly right. And someone's watered it down to the point where
Yeah,
it's just water.
Ugh.
But like, so there, that's part of it. Like if you have cleaning supplies that are like ready to go and usable and you have maybe a nice drying rack, because like realistically, how long does it take to wipe out a mug? Like seconds. It takes so little of your day to just get in there, run the sponge around, rinse it out, and put it in the drying rack, right? But if you don't have a drying rack and the sponge is disgusting, then it's easier for someone to just be like, "Ugh, ugh."
Yep.
But also, it's systemic because that is an attitude of, I don't clean up my own messes, right? Someone else will do this for me. This is big. This is getting big into like shopping cart theory, right? It's that thing of like, if you do something decent, like put your shopping cart away, even when no one's watching, like that's basically how societies stay together. And so if the assumption is, I don't have to wipe out my own mug, like that is a culture issue within the establishment. And it tells you something about your coworkers who are just like, not my problem. Like,
And it also builds on itself because when the sink
Yep.
gets to a point where you can't use the
can't
sink
use it.
anymore,
Yep.
what is anybody going to do but abandon their
and
dishes
also
there?
you've made it clear that it's fine to just do that, right? You've set the precedent. Once there's like 3 dishes in there, then the 4th is not a big deal. Then the 5th is not a big deal.
Yeah.
And so I feel like those are times where I guarantee you some of those people do clean at their own homes. They do have clean homes. They do get on their teenage kids to clean up after themselves. But then at work, it's just like they just turn into monsters
They
because
just assume somebody else is going to do it.
someone else will do it. And it's like you have a cleaning crew who I'm sure is just like vacuuming basically and emptying the trashes probably.
Yeah.
But like when I was a janitor, there was a couple of places where we did have the contract to clean out the dishes. And those people knew that janitors were getting paid to come in and do them. And so they were like they just half a sandwich sitting in the sink with water having run
Oh,
over it and there's no
God.
garbage disposal. And I'm like, bruv, I now have to like
I know.
pick up this food mess. Like I have to put a glove on to do this because ew.
Yeah.
Because
you can just throw away the sandwich before you put it in there.
You couldn't scrape a plate. You could not scrape a plate. No, they could not.
I bet you people were putting napkins and paper towels in there too.
If even one person hears this, I will have satisfied my entire life's work. And that is this. Only bad people put napkins in pint glasses of water at restaurants.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
That's bad person behavior.
That is
and
bad
I will
person
say
behavior,
that that is a hill that I will die on because when I see someone stuff like a napkin into a water glass, somebody has to fish it out.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could dump it upside down.
Sometimes you can. Sometimes
where?
it's stuck.
Then, where's the drain? If
right.
If you're doing
then you have
that.
to dump water into the garbage bag, maybe, or right. You got to. Oh man, it's so yucky. And so yeah, I think that's. I think there are places culturally where we are more accepting of messes, and I feel that in a lot of ways the internet is one of those places. Mm-hmm. And I think it's hard too because, like I said, sort of at the beginning of this whole thing, there's like the ultra tidy, ultra fancy, like influencer life where everything is organized and it looks nice. And it's like, yeah, those people make enough money to pay someone to come clean their space, probably, right? Like they are not getting out the spray. The person with 40 million followers on TikTok is not getting out their all purpose and doing their own wipe down unless they're making a video about it. Like, and that's only to fool you into thinking they're regular. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have like biohazard rooms. I don't think we have a lot of understanding about like how to just exist somewhere in a healthy middle where you can find your stuff, right? Because that's the other thing is cleaning is about how it looks, but it's also about how you live in it. Because it's, can you find stuff? Is stuff in good condition when you find it? And can you reliably count on it to be like usable and ready to go, right? Because if you have your chair or your, kind of clean space, which we've talked about a lot, like generally speaking, that laundry or like those clothes are in fine condition. They're not getting trampled on. They're not getting stuff spilt on them. But as soon as it hits the floor, you have lost control over that object's viability in the future. And you're not going to be able to find it. It might not work or do what you want it to do, or you might pick it up and it has a stain on it and now you can never wear it again. So like in your example with the mugs, it's like, well, now you've made it garbage. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a huge part of keeping your space clean is keeping your stuff in proper functioning order.
So we have to wrap things up here. But you sort of earlier kind of leaned into giving a little bit of advice, and that's not something I do a lot on the show, especially in conversations like this, because there are some people who aren't looking for advice on that. Yeah. They're like, yeah, I'm just more comfortable in a messy space than you, and that's fine. But if you are looking for a little piece of advice, I was thinking about something, and actually this is sort of a recall of something that you and I were talking about on a show not all that long ago, which is okay, let me put it this way. Think about a migratory pattern of like birds or wildlife or something, right? Just picture whatever that looks like. I basically have that with stuff in my house. So you mentioned that you have do you even have a little basket or something that you said you keep at the bottom and the top of the stairs because things are constantly going upstairs and downstairs? Or like, I have a little place at the top of our stairs where if I'm not going downstairs right now, that's fine, but I'll put the little scrubber brushes I bought at the top of the stairs, knowing next time I go down, I'll grab it.
Yes.
Right? And
yes,
you have a
100%.
similar system, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I have little places in my house where I'm not always putting everything exactly where it needs to be in the moment, but I'm putting it in at the staging ground for
yes.
it. And so if you start thinking, I think actually unpacking groceries is a really good example. We're a place that we have, an upstairs and a downstairs here. We have a little basement refrigerator, so sometimes we buy things that do go in the basement refrigerator. So let's say I come home with 2 overflowing bags, like reusable bags of groceries, right? First, you're emptying them out in the kitchen, and a bunch of stuff goes right in the kitchen. But then you got this thing. This goes in the downstairs bathroom. I'll put that at the top of the stairs. Okay, this other thing goes in the downstairs refrigerator. Okay, I'll put that with that other downstairs pile too. When the bags themselves are empty, you might not feel like going outside, putting on shoes again, and taking the reusable bags back out to the car. But you know what I always do? I stuff the bags together and I hang them on the doorknob. So the next time I'm leaving the front door, I grab that and I take it to the car with me.
Yep.
You know, and so these are the migratory patterns I'm talking about. You might not feel like, oh, I got to put everything away in its place right now. Especially, I think it can feel overwhelming coming back from a shopping trip like that. But no, put away everything that needs to be put away in the fridge, obviously, right away. Some things don't have to go right away, but just put it in the spot that you know the next time you pass that place, you'll pick up as much of that stuff as you can. Because sometimes my piles are so big that I've just got to grab this object, and I'll be back for the rest of you later. And then I go down. And then even if I don't want to take it all the way to the bathroom downstairs, I'll put it on the corner of the couch. And I know the next time I'm going to the bathroom, I will grab it off of the couch and take it. So just like sort of think about these migratory patterns, places you're going anywhere anyway, and just like kind of stage yourself little staging grounds.
Yes, exactly. And that's like the thing with like dishes, right? If you're someone who eats outside of or away from the kitchen, you know, you take dishes into your room or whatever, then when you're done with them, like put them at a place where they're easy to then take to the kitchen the next time you go.
Yeah.
And like don't bring anything new in until you've taken that out. I do the same with like grocery bags. I put them by my key. Like I have a hook where I hang my car keys that's by the back door where I park. And then I put my grocery bags over those keys. So like I have to bring them back, right? I have to do it. I also, if I have something that's like definitely not breakable and I need to put it downstairs, I will sometimes just throw it down the stairs. And I will leave it on the floor down there. Sure. Yeah, and then either I will put it away or Keith will see it. And he knows if it's down there, it's because it's supposed to be. And it's supposed to go, you know, like if it's like my air freshener. So we talked on the 2 episodes ago, I think, or last episode about the little plug-in air freshener.
Yeah.
When I get a renewal of that, it comes in a little cardboard pouch, right? And it's like, I'm not going to go all the way downstairs to go put this away. And so I'll just huck it down the stairs. And then if Keith sees it down there, he'll put it in here in this office room. And then I'll put it away later. And so it's like, these are our towel laundry, like if I have a dish towel that's grimy upstairs, I will just throw it down the stairs. And then the next time I'm downstairs, I move it then to like the laundry area. And like, that is fine. You can like, these small steps, I think are what keeps it from getting overwhelming, you know, like,
and keep it moving though, and
keep it moving.
Don't let it sit out there. Don't put it at the top of the stairs and then stop seeing it. I think that's one thing is you just stop seeing it after a while.
Yes,
I think some people are more prone to that than others, and because like you could say, oh, I hung these reusable bags here because next time I go out to the car, I'm going to take them with me, and then you just stop seeing them because they've blended in the environment, and you've just walked past them. That's why I like your idea of burying your keys below it. Like you can't get out without grabbing them.
I also use. This is funny, but I use carabiners like a lot to attach to physically, and this is like an ADHD thing, I think, because I will like forget something really basic. And so if I like loop my sunglasses through the carabiner I have on my keys, then my sunglasses are there and I have to physically like grab them as I'm grabbing my keys. I will do the same with like, especially stuff for the dog, like all of her stuff, her little treat bag, her like poop bag holder, everything is on a carabiner, because that way I can just clip everything to itself or to something else. And I always everything is physically held together. And that makes it so much easier to clean up. Like her stuff is all the dogs. I'm like gesturing to her as though you can see her, but she's next to me on the bed.
I believe you.
Her stuff it all goes in one place. She has a series of hooks that are on the wall. And so all of her leashes, all of her everything are all in this one area, including like the backpack I use when I take her on hikes. And then all of that can be clipped to one another. And so it helps me keep everything together in my head, and it helps me keep everything together as we're going. And it helps me keep everything clean, because if something that's not usually super hangable has a carabiner on it, now you can hang it on a hook.
Anything can be hangable.
Anything can be hangable if you put a carabiner on it.
That's right. Let's leave it there. That was a really fun show today, Hannah, but as I mentioned, we didn't have emails or V-mails today, but we would love to hear from folks. In fact, we'd love to hear from folks on those topics that you brought up. First of all, I love the idea of that you walk into a room and it's a massive mess that you're responsible with cleaning. Where do you begin cleaning? Sounds like you and I were in pretty much the same place on that. In the movies, of course, they would take a wet mop and just start slopping it around all over.
First thing they do is just
for
like
some weird reason.
Yeah.
They would just get everything wet.
Always.
And then also, you had mentioned something before the show that you'd like to hear from listeners on, and I don't want to steal your thunder here, but as a little prompt, you had said something like, what is your personal indicator of whether or not your house is feeling messy?
Yes. What is your tipping point that when you look around the house, you're like, I got to clean this? Like, what is it? Is it that, you know, you have dishes accumulating, or like for me, it's usually if I look around and the floor looks icky, like, and then is that a thing where if you just do that one thing, then you feel better? Because like if I vacuum,
or does
I feel
it lead to more? Yeah,
right.
yeah,
right. Yes. Does it get you
I do
started?
think,
Yeah.
I think floors are a big part of it for me, both like the kitchen floor accumulating a bunch of like whether it's pet hair or just like scuff marks or food and crumbs or whatever, that really gets to me. But then also all this carpet we have in the basement, like I'll see a couple of Bingo's little cotton balls that he's left behind, right? Then I'm like, I gotta vacuum this.
Well,
like,
because
I start
it's
to
your
feel like
space.
I need to do this now.
This is the thing, right? It's like I can look at our hardwood floor, which is speckled and patchy and has scratches, and like it's not in the greatest of shape. But I know what's supposed to be there and what is like an outlier, what's a mess. And so if I see that, I'm like, oh, we're like, that's how I know that it's time. But it's so funny because I don't think most people would walk into my house and be able to look at the floor and be like, oh, it's dirty. They would just see a wood floor. But like,
that.
I
Yeah,
know,
I don't know what
I
other
see the
yeah.
spots.
That's the thing, and I don't know what people are seeing. So when somebody drops by, and I'm like, oh, God, I realize later, oh, they must have looked at the floor and thought it was disgusting. But then you're just like, I don't know. I hold myself to a pretty high standard. I don't really know. But anyway, I am going to give out the phone number here, and we'll give it away again, or we'll give it out. We're giving our phone number away.
Does anybody want it? Who wants a bunch of voicemails?
It's 508-469-9274. That's 508-HOW-WASH, and we have other ways of getting a hold of us, too, which we'll play for you here in just a second. So we'd really like to hear from you, and you scrub jockeys will definitely get you into next week's show. No, I guess we do this every 2 weeks, huh? So next month's show.
Close
All
enough.
right, everybody. Hannah, you have a good couple of weeks. Probably talk to you in between things. Maybe next week or on the next show we can talk a little bit about my newest hobby, which is drunken indoor gardening. I don't know if you're interested in that.
Oh, I'm very interested in that.
It's really taken the house by storm. So
what
stay
a
tuned
teaser.
All right, everybody. Stay clean. We'll talk to you soon.
You've been listening to the Spotless Podcast. If you have a question for Hannah and Andrew or some cleaning advice, call the Spotline at 508-HOW-WASH. That's 508-469-9274. You can also email them at spotlesspod@gmail.com. We'll be back soon. But until then, always remember, life is messy, but it doesn't have to be.